Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to Talk4, the quickfire podcast where we ask four great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today on Talk4 is your host, Louis Skupien, that's me, and our special guest for today, Brian Dunphy, who will be answering our questions today. Brian, please introduce yourself and give us a quick rundown of what you do before I shoot some questions.
Thanks, Louis. An absolute pleasure and honor to be on with you today. My name is Brian Dunphy. I'm with the Irish folk and ballad group called THEHIGHKINGS. We have established ourselves since 2008. Next year, we'll be celebrating 15 years. And all we've been doing is carrying on the legacy of all the great balladeers and folk singers of yesteryear. And we have given the sounds and the songs a new generation. And yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm in my 40s. I'm not going to say exactly what I am, but I'm talking to you from County Meath in Ireland. And I have been married since 2002, very happily. And I have one boy, Sam, who is 17 years of age. And yeah, it's just been fantastic. And may the good times roll.
I love it. And I was just saying to Brian before the podcast started that I'm a huge fan of the THEHIGHKINGS, and I cannot wait for their London tour and going around Birmingham in the UK and stuff in a few months, I believe in June. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, that's right. We're doing 10 shows even. From the 7th of June till the 18th of June. And I'll be celebrating my birthday in there as well. So maybe you should come along for that one. That should be some fun. But yeah, we're doing the length and breadth of the UK. We haven't been there in a good few years, but every time we're there, we cause a bit of a stir and a bit of an excitement around, especially all the Irish venues and the Irish villages there. But look, everybody comes to the shows and they just have fun. And, you know, we've really kind of upped our game over the last couple of years in relation to the songs and the songs that people want to hear. And the sing-alongs are always a huge hit. So yeah, really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely can't wait for that. And I know you're a busy guy, but thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today. And thank you for your time. As everyone knows, we will be asking four questions to Brian today. So without further ado, let's get on with question number one. So for question one, how did your journey in music start? What was the first instrument you learned to play and how did it progress to where you are today?
Well, the first instrument I picked up was guitar, and I was about 12 years of age. So I was a little bit late when I started learning classical guitar. And actually, after a few months, I started to kind of get a little bit bored of that. And I just wanted to kind of learn chords and listen to songs and try and learn it myself and try and figure out what was going on. But my dad is a famous singer. His name is Sean Dunphy. He passed away about 10 years ago now, but for 55 years of his life, he was one of the biggest entertainers in Ireland and traveled through the UK and traveled through most of America. He was in the Eurovision Song Contest in 1967 and came second and was beaten by the UK by Sandy Shaw, Puppet on a String. We won't hold that against the UK, of course, but no, I learned a lot of I learned a lot of my trade from him. And I started kind of touring around with him when I was very, very young, and he would get me up to sing, and I would have the pleasure of carrying his beautiful tuxedo in every venue that he went into and helped him dress. And yeah, he'd get me up to sing a song. And yeah, literally went from there, and I caught the bug. And, you know, it was cool having a famous dad when you were going to school and the teachers knew him and all of that kind of thing. And I was kind of just started to listen to the likes of Della Mitri up in Scotland, and their harmonics and their acoustic sound was just something I was really into at the time. And it just went on from there. And I got a very lucky break when I was asked to be the lead singer in Riverdance in 1998. So I ended up touring with them for nearly 6 years and traveled the length and breadth of America and Canada and Australia and Europe and China, and did some wonderful places like, you know, the Radio City Music Hall, even down to Madison Square Gardens. We used to get invited there to sing a lot of anthems. And I went on from Riverdance then to a group called the Three Irish Tenors, and I was with them for about 3 or 4 years. And that's when I settled back in Ireland again, because I lived in America for a good while. And I phoned up a friend of mine, Darren Holden, who's in the THEHIGHKINGS, and I said, listen, there's an opportunity for a new Irish folk band to start. Would you be interested? And he actually was just finishing a Billy Joel musical called Moving Out. And he was touring America. And so that's kind of when the baby of the High Kings started to happen, and that was 2007. And then we started touring in 2008. So that's a very quick run through of my career, but that's basically the main focus on it. And I've been very, very lucky since, because I've been singing for the last 25, 30 years, and it's just been fantastic.
Wow, what an impressive career. But I love how it runs in the family as well. I mean, you can clearly see that he's definitely done the right thing with you, because you've definitely had the talent passed on to you. It's fantastic and very impressive, Brian. So actually, what you were saying just there really leads on very well to question number 2 as well. Let's talk about the High Kings. How did you meet the others, and how did this legendary band actually start? Obviously, you mentioned you got in touch with it's Darren, isn't it?
Darren, yes, correct.
Darren,
well, I was
yes.
a good friend of Darren from about 1993. We actually did tour Riverdance together, and we lived in New York for a couple of years together when we were performing with Riverdance in Broadway there. And the idea started to pop around in about 2007. And I didn't know Martin Fury, and I didn't know Finbar Clancy. I knew of their lineage, of course, because Finbar's dad was Bobby Clancy from the famous folk band, the Clancy Brothers. And then Martin Fury is from the Fury Brothers, and his dad is Finbar Fury, who was very famous for the Lonesome Boatman. But, they've been touring, and they've been making names themselves from the 50s. And, or sorry, I should say their families have been, not Martin and Finbar. But it was great. I mean, when we got into a room together, this situation was like, okay, well, we're all from different backgrounds, and we all have done different. I mean, I did even musical theater. I did Aspects of Love in the 90s. I did the Rocky Horror Show. So I had come from another different background. So I've tried kind of everything in my life until the High Kings popped in. But, we started to, the first thing when we met each other was like, guys, can we go into a room, see what happens? Let's pick one of the most popular songs, Will You Go, Lassie Go? So we got into a room and just picked up the guitar, and the four of us immediately started looking at each other and started going, okay, this is kind of working, because the voices were blending, the harmonies were natural, and it just seemed like a no-brainer at the time, because a lot of the older bands at the time, of course, were kind of starting to slow down, and they weren't working as much as they were, and we just wanted to bring those songs to a new generation. So we knew that we had to kind of give them a little bit of a lift in relation to just being the same of what they've heard before. So that's what we brought into it. So we had a lot of different backgrounds, show backgrounds, music backgrounds. There's rock there, there's pop, there's show. So we just decided to put all of those elements in together, and that's what kind of the birth of the High Kings was. That's what the sound of the High Kings was going forward, and still is today. Our arrangements are hugely important to us. And that's kind of, I suppose, makes us different to everybody else. And now you've got 4 solo singers, which is very unusual in a band. Usually there's one, obviously, as you know, or 2. But, so we share a 2-hour show among ourselves. And I think that's what makes it hugely different.
Very impressive. And
that was a long answer. Sorry about that.
That's absolutely fine. I'm loving listening to the voice as well. It's so calming. But going on to onto the songs as well, more of a personal question, but when you guys first recorded the Irish pub song, one of my personal favorites, 100%, did you guys just know it was going to take off how it did? Or were you kind of was it a slow progress to get to those millions of views and stuff as well?
Definitely the latter. It was something that came in, and me personally, I listened to it and I went, this is not going to fly. It's just going to be something very different. It's a bit kind of, what's the word? I suppose you could hear it in every venue, but we wanted to be I think we all had different values in relation to where the band was going to go. Wanted it a bit classy and different kinds of things. But if you don't listen to your audience, and if you don't listen to what they want, then you're fighting a losing battle. So basically, my dad always said to me, sing the songs that people know, sing the songs that the people want. Do not try to go up there and educate them. Just sing, get up there and have fun. And the Irish pub song just was an entity by itself. I mean, it is our biggest Spotify hit, along with Rocky Road to Dublin. And it just took a life of its own. And the Americans really, really held on to the Irish pub song because it shouts across the world. It's everywhere you go. You do find an Irish pub. And, you know, and even lately in America, obviously with the situation that's going on in Russia and Ukraine at the moment, we changed a couple of the lyrics just to show our support for Ukraine. And we found that was kind of, you know, you got to cheer every time we mentioned Kiev in the song, and we changed it a little bit. And, you know, those kind of little things just meant quite a lot. But to see everybody singing along to the song every single night is pretty cool. So yeah, it's again, it's one of those things that you don't think is going to work, but it does. I mean, Darren Holden in the band is probably our most prolific songwriter, and he wrote something very recently. It's an a cappella piece, and previous to that, had put 9 songs within the band and to management, and we were kind of hemming and hawing about most of them. Then this one came up, and he said, "I wrote that in 2 minutes." And I've worked so hard on the other 9, you know, and then it's a huge hit in America. And we've been doing it in America. We've done it and here at we're in the middle of an Irish tour at the moment. So yeah, you really don't know what's going to work. And I think you've just got to try everything. You got to put it out there, see what happens, and then go from there.
That's fantastic. That's really interesting to hear because, no, listening to it, you'd think that straight away you guys would have been like, oh my God, this is going to be an absolute hit. But to think that, you know, obviously it took a while to kind of go from, you know, 0 to where it is today. But no, it's really interesting to hear that backstory about it, actually.
Well, a classic case of songs like that is a song like The Wild Rover.
Yeah.
And, you know, and an American audience go ballistic for The Wild Rover. Not so much in Ireland. But in America, they go ballistic for it. And we're kind of like, do we want to sing The Wild Rover, you know, every single night? But, you know, again, please the audience, make it happen, have fun with everybody, and give them a great night that they can remember going home.
You know what?
This is going to be, it's all about.
This is going to be a long episode, but I've got to ask, what is your favorite song to sing?
My personal favorite would be Grace at the moment.
Okay.
It's such a huge... tragic story, but a huge song that everybody knows. It tells the story of Joseph Plunkett, who was one of our leaders in the 1916 Rising, and was sentenced down to prison, and he wanted to marry his long love, Grace Gifford, and they were allowed 15 minutes together for a ceremony, and that was it. And that was the last time she saw her, and she saw him, and he was executed the following morning. So, you know, those kind of tragic stories are beautiful to me. And, you know, we've done a beautiful arrangement. But then you go from those slow ones, and then I do a song called Ride On, which is, again, is a fast one. To me, sometimes it's more about the arrangement. It's more about the musicality. To a lot of other people, it's about the lyrics of songs. But I really get into the music element. If I hear a great tune, that's more or less what I'm about. So if I'm sitting at home and I do another song called Spanish Lady, and I sat at home and I worked on an arrangement for it for a couple of days, and I brought it to the guys, and they were looking at me with these wide eyes, rabbit eyes, kind of going, where are you going with this thing? It's like, this is just like supposed to be a 4-chord trick, you know, just do it. And I said, no, I said, this is the way forward. And the audience just love it. You know, again, it's got that whistle solos in the middle, and you can get them all clapping and stomping their feet. And yeah, so that would be where I'm at with songs. But I love everything we do. But again, you've got to keep choosing every night. You can. So I would have 3 solo numbers. So we spread it out among ourselves out of a 23 song tour or show. And so you just kind of move them around. Fields of Athenry is another great song too.
Brilliant. Well, we've sidetracked a little bit, but to get back on track for question number 3, for people who are taking up music or want to learn to play an instrument, do you have any tips for beginners, or are there any common mistakes that should be looked out for at the start? I'm listening intently, by the way, because I've got a guitar I've started playing recently, and
have you?
Yeah.
Okay. And how are you learning at the moment?
Mainly off YouTube, but it's actually going very well. I've got a little SoundCloud going, and I've made a few tracks, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's like a really good little wind down for me in the evenings. It's great fun.
and that's what it's all about. It is all about that wind down and just picking up something that you can, some people use meditation, some people use Pilates, some people go to the gym, some people go for a walk. But, if it's only recently, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm well in my 40s, and I'm not going to lie to you. And I think it takes a long time. It took me a long time to realize, and this is not an egotistical answer to anything, but it took me a long time to realize that, you know what, you actually can do this. And you do have something that, some other people can't do, which is play guitar or sing a song really sweetly. And I think sometimes you forget it, and you forget maybe, God, they actually do enjoy what you do. And I think if anybody can pick up a guitar and learn a song and be able to sit or stand, or if you're at home or in front of one person or two people or 50,000 people, to be able to do that, I think is a fantastic thing. And you can bring so much joy through music to people. And especially over this COVID situation and being back on the road, just to see smiles on people's faces again. So, I mean, I would say to anybody who's doing it, just stick with it. Whether you're bad, whether you're medium, whether you're great, it doesn't matter as long as it makes you feel good. Keep at it.
I'll tell you what,
just
Brian,
don't know.
The guitar I have, actually, going off what you just said there, it belonged to my granddad, who sadly passed away a few years ago, and it was passed on to me. And playing the tunes and the progression tracks and recording the songs and everything, and sending them to my grandma, sending them to my mum, playing them for them as well, seeing the smiles and, the occasional tear of joy has been like the most gratifying thing ever for me. And that's really made it worthwhile. So that, what you just said there about, the smiles and the fun side of it, and that it's just healthy and good for you, that really resonates with me as well. I've definitely found that, not just for me, but for, my family members as well.
Can I just say, that's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful thing you're after saying. I mean, to be able to give that back to your grandma and your family is superb. And you know what? You sound like such the nicest dude. So when we get over to the UK in June, we are definitely having a pint together. Because I think there's so much more that you and I can talk about. And if I can ever help you in any way with anything, that's cool. But just amazing. From the minute of what you just said there, I just think that's really amazing. It's a savage thing that you're doing. So, and look, you're thriving through life. You're doing everything you can. You're doing your podcast. You're a pro tennis player. So I'll have to get some tips off you. But that's incredible. You just keep going. Keep doing things. If I could go back to my 19-year-old self, there's so many things I would like to give out to myself about, but that's for another day.
Thank you so much. That means the world, literally. No, I mean, yeah, my granddad, he used to play House of the Rising Sun on guitar, and I've started playing a few different songs as well. He mainly just did strumming, but I've started kind of doing more complicated songs, and the response to it is just fantastic. Not just from family, but from friends as well. So I'd definitely back you up on your point there. It's so important for people to just start and stick with it. It's really worth it in the end, for sure.
Oh, it is. And look, when I was going back to when I was saying about being 12, I actually ended up putting it down for about 4 or 5 years before I picked it back up again. So it does happen. It'll come to you when you feel that it's the right time. I mean, you may go through that as well, and you'll put it down, and you might come back to it later on or in a few months' time or whatever. And just stick to it. It'll come to you when you feel the time is right.
Definitely. Brian, for our fourth and final question, what was your proudest moment in your music career? Was there a particular event or moment in time that stuck in your head as the pinnacle of your work?
Do you just want one?
Okay, top 3. How about that? But there's got to be a top 1 as well. Top 3. Let's upgrade
obviously singing on stage with my dad. Great memories.
Yeah.
Fantastic man. Always looked up to him. He was an icon for me. That was special. And actually the last time I sang with him was pretty special. You can find that on YouTube, actually, myself and dad singing together. Second of all was getting an invite to sing and play in the White House for President Obama. And
amazing.
yeah, we were there for a fantastic event, obviously the St. Patrick's Day, and he was a huge fan. And he heard from us from his general, oh God, I always forget it. It's the General Chiefs. Oh my God, what is General Chiefs? It's literally his right-hand man for the military. But anyway,
I'm afraid I can't help you there. I'm struggling too.
His name is Martin Dempsey. Martin Dempsey was his name. But he brought us to the Pentagon and he gave us a tour of the Pentagon, and he was basically the head man in the Pentagon. And this was all done in one day. And we laid a wreath for the fallen Irish soldiers in World War II and World War I as well, of course. And and we laid a wreath at Arlington Cemetery, and we were brought around for a tour there. That was incredible as well. And look, and singing the Irish National Anthem in Twickenham was pretty stunning.
That's amazing.
And I'll never forget that one.
I cannot believe you played in the White House. That is insane.
Yeah, it is savage. Yeah. It was pretty cool, you know, like security everywhere and checking everything and going in and seeing George Washington's sword. And they gave us free reign of walking around the first floor of the house, and you could take photographs wherever you wanted. And of course, taking pictures beside John F. Kennedy, and, you know, and being a proud Irishman in the White House at the time and singing our Irish songs and ballads and folk songs and telling them the stories of our forefathers and, you know, keeping their stories alive was hugely important for us. It wasn't just about having a party. It was about, you know, spreading the stories and spreading the love and all of that kind of thing within the White House. And it was pretty savage. I have to say.
Excellent. So, Brian, that is our 4 questions done for today. And before we wrap it up, it is time for the shameless plug. Brian, feel free to take a minute and promote anything that you're working on, want people to take a look at, or just something you believe in. That could be your tour, that could be the High Kings, whatever. Promote away. Thank you, man. Well, I'd love you to come and see our shows. Our shows are very, very different. As I said, you've got 4 solo singers. We've played 14 instruments between us. It's rousing from the very first note. It's all a bit of fun. You'll find all our dates on THEHIGHKINGS.com or on our Facebook page, or my own Instagram as Brian Dunphy, and you'll find all the information there. Even check us out on TikTok. We may be old, but we do have a bit of fun on TikTok. We are coming to the UK in June for 2 weeks. So yeah, all of the information is there. You can find it on our websites. And listen, come out and have some fun, because that's what it's all about. Life's too short, and come out and see some Irish boys kicking ass for Brilliant. I certainly know I will be. But yeah, Brian, thank you so much for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on, and thank you for your time. Thank you very much, and best wishes with your career. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Signing off for now.